What was your message to the team as they got together here for the first time?
We haven't met yet. We're actually going to meet this afternoon and go over simple stuff like schedule and expectations and talk about some big picture things as well. But, yeah, I think the thing that is impressed upon me is we've had a really good summer. I think the guys have done a lot of work, made a lot of progress. I think they put themselves in a position to accomplish a lot of things. But none of that matters until we go earn it, and we got to start earning it on the field tomorrow. It's not a thing where you earn it on the field on Saturdays during games. It's earned in practice, and they put themselves in a position to accomplish those things if they go out and earn it.
What do you know about this team, or maybe you didn't know going into training camp last year, and what is still something that you want to learn about?
I've been, I guess, really pleased with the turnaround of the attitude on the team, the togetherness of the team. I've been around a lot of teams, and usually the majority of the team on good teams is doing things the right way and looking after each other. But there's also always some outliers, and there's always going to be outliers. But we have very, very few guys that aren't completely 100% in, holding each other accountable and all living up to a standard that we expect. And we have it on this team right now to a degree that I haven't seen very often. So if we can get to work on the field and start executing well with that kind of attitude, I think some good things will happen.
What is it you still want to know or learn about this team to get it to where you want it to go?
I want this team to prove that it can be tough. We have some tough guys on the team, for sure. We have some other guys I think are going to be tough. We have some young guys that still have to prove it. But to win in this league, you got to be tough and you got to be physical. And I think our talent level, our speed, our strength, all those things is going to be considerably better this year. But it doesn't matter if you don't go hit somebody in the face on the field. And we need to block and tackle with that kind of mentality.
The first week or so of camp, does practice look different than it did a year ago? Do you start a lot different place?
No, from a scheduling standpoint, we have a formula that works. We're going to try to work the guys into condition to play gradually, work them outside in the heat gradually. So a lot of our MO is going to stay the same and won't change. I think what is going to be noticeably different is just where we're starting from an understanding of our scheme standpoint. Last year we'd had one spring under our belt, but we were still going out and going through install and taking it slow to make sure the guys knew all the details. The majority of the guys that we're going to be counting on this year, we could line up and just go run huge percentage of our playbook on day one if we needed to. So we're not going to skip over some of the little details that maybe we skipped over last year, but from an understanding standpoint, it's going to be completely different.
Are there any games in particular last year you remember where you saw the toughness component that you alluded to?
I think our team showed some grit and character in the Michigan State game for sure. That was a good team that we played. Definitely one of the better defenses we played, and our guys found a way. Good teams, disciplined teams, and tough teams find ways to win instead of finding ways to lose a game. And toward the end of the year, we were starting to do that.
Scott, are you able to quantify how much the second half of last season might have positively affected the psyche of the team, just the 4-2 finish?
Yeah, I think finishing the way we did helped guys believe in our process for getting things done more than anything. I think, we could use not a confidence boost. Our guys are confident, but just that evidence that what we're doing is going to pay dividends in the end. And toward the end of the year, I think they got that. We won our share of games, and even the ones we lost, Northwestern, Ohio State, Iowa, we had chances. So I think our guys are going into this season knowing that we're a better team today than we were then, and hoping that the progress we made is enough to get us over the top in some of those games.
Scott Chenender has said ideally he would have a depth chart where you can identify the 22 starters because they're on the field quite a bit. How close do you feel your defense is to having that sort of depth?
we're a lot deeper team than we were a year ago at certain positions. We're a team that's, I've said this, still has a couple holes, still has some depth issues in a couple places, but we've also fixed those things in quite a few places. D-line in particular, I'd point to, we're going to be pretty deep this year. Even with some new talent coming in, those guys are going to have to prove it on the field to get out on the field and play, and I think there's going to be a lot of guys that we're going to trust to be out there. The other positions we'll see on depth. I feel really good about the secondary and our frontline guys right now, but we need to make sure that some of the young guys and some of the guys that didn't play last year are capable of going in and playing at a high level. Linebacker, inside and outside, we need some guys to step up, and I don't think the depth there is what we want it to be yet. But we got a whole camp here to work with some young guys and some new guys to get them to that point. So we're a lot closer than we were, but we're going to continue adding depth. I think our walk-on program will continue contributing to the depth as we go along, and we're in a better place today, but hope we're in an even better place tomorrow.
Hey, Scott, how do you anticipate dividing reps at the start of camp at center and also at running back?
Starting with center, Cam Jurgens moved there in the fall last year. We have to wait and see on his health and where he's going to be. Will Farniak will probably be the starter there. Hunter Miller takes some reps. I think Trent Hickson's capable of moving over. A couple of the other guards are capable of playing some center. Ethan Piper's a kid that we were initially thinking about playing on defense that we're probably going to move over to offense to try to help the interior, the offensive line. So we're going to give all those guys a shot, starting with Will. And one of them, I hope, steps up and takes it. Running back's going to be interesting. We got several new guys. We're going to throw those guys into the deep end and give them reps. Typically in a camp like we run it, we get so many offensive and defensive snaps per practice that those guys get worn out and aren't necessarily wanting more reps. We can always, a couple receivers we have that I think can take some running back snaps as well, but we'll divide those guys up and get them all a lot of work and see who comes out of the pack.
You can move the camp roster around as you go, but is he in a position to be on that 110 when you start camp here?
Yeah, we're going to keep Cam in the 110 and try to figure out when he's capable of going full speed.
Scott, with Maurice Washington's court date after the season opener, would you anticipate him being available for the first game?
And that's a long way down the road. Right now I'm worried about him doing the right things day by day. Just to be consistent, we're not going to make any decisions on anything until we have more clarity. And all I expect him to do is come to camp, be a good teammate, show up, be where he's supposed to be, and continue working as if he's going to play, and we'll see where the chips fall.
Scott, from the reports that you've gotten on Dedrick Mills, has he been kind of what you thought he was going to be coming in?
Yeah, Dedrick's done a really good job. I haven't seen him on the field yet. We're not allowed to be out there in the summer when they're throwing balls around and doing drills. Seen him in the weight room. He certainly physically looks like we would want him to look. I've gotten good reports back. So there's quite a few new guys and freshmen that I'm anxious to see on day one. I think you can tell a lot about their preparedness and their mentality on day one. And it's not always accurate, but I think you can tell a lot about who's going to play with how they show up on day one.
Hey, Scott, just one follow-up on Maurice. With the court system not adjudicating that before the season, what are the factors to take into account then as far as making a decision on his status?
Well, it's unfortunate that this hasn't all been worked out to this point, but I certainly am keeping it as far away from me and the rest of the team as we can. So that process has got to work out on its own timing. When a decision is made, it won't just be me making it. It'll be leaders of the athletic department and university as well. But like I said, we just have to go about our own work right now, and he does too. And we'll let the chips fall where they may with that once we get more clarity.
Scott, what's your early impression on Ronald Tompkins and how he showed up? And obviously he had those two serious injuries, but is he somebody who can compete right away, or does he need some more time with that?
Yeah, Ronald's still getting healthy. Obviously, we're not going to talk about injuries a lot, but I don't think he'll be full go at the beginning of this camp. Maybe some point during this camp he will be. I know he's a super talented kid, so we're anxious to get him 100% and see how he compares to the rest of the running backs. And I think that the time when he's going to be able to do that isn't too far away.
Is he on the 110?
No, Ronald won't be in the 110. We're allowed to bring guys in to work with our trainers that aren't in the 110, so they can't attend meetings or practice, but can be here and rehab, and then he'll be one of those guys.
In your experience, is your offense the kind where, I don't want to say regardless of the running back or the skill player, you're going to have success, but is your confidence, Troy Walter's confidence in your offense mean that you guys can plug a freshman or somebody who hasn't played at this level in there and have them have success right away?
Well, I'd like to give our coaches all the credit and our scheme all the credit. Without good players, you don't win. We particularly need guys at skill positions that, when they get their chances, can make big plays. I think we have more of them today than we did a year ago on this same at this same press conference. So we've done a good job developing and adding talent. I can't wait to see these guys perform. That being said, I think our offense provides those guys a lot of opportunities in that area. So we'll start seeing those guys with those opportunities tomorrow at practice and see how it all shakes out.
You mentioned you could run a huge percentage of the playbook on day one if you wanted to. Is that a product of the work the team has put in over this offseason, or is that where you expected things to be?
No, that's just kind of the evolution in year two. You're still teaching a lot of the concepts in year one. In year two, the guys know the concepts. They know their basic assignments, their basic rules. I think two advantages to that is one, they're way farther ahead and with understanding, so there's fewer mistakes. And two, we're going to be able to address a lot more of the little details and little things that we probably had to speed past a little bit to get the offense and defense in. So I expect there to be better execution, tighter execution, better detail. I think even our true freshmen are at a better point right now than they were a year ago, just because they're coming in and working with older guys that understand it, working with an entire coaching staff that's been around it for a long time. So from an understanding standpoint and detail standpoint, I expect us to be way ahead just because it's year two in the schemes.
Troy Walters the other day rattled off probably a dozen wide receivers behind JD. There's a lot of bodies in that room competing for playing time. What will separate that, and do you get the sense that some of the older guys in that room can feel the presence of all of them?
Yeah, Troy's done a good job. Our recruiting staff's done a good job, and I think receiver, kind of like D-line, is a position where we've really added to talent and added to the depth. There's going to be a huge competition at that position. Obviously, JD's a guy that's proved what he can do on the field, and will be a leader for us on the field at that position. But there is a dozen other guys that I think have an opportunity to play or to start. So we're going to let those guys compete. I think there's a lot of guys with talent. What it's really going to come down to is consistency and reliability. If they're in the right place, if they're running the right route, if they're in the right spot, if Adrian and the rest of the quarterbacks can trust them to be there and catch it, that's probably what's going to separate them. And we'll see who comes out on top, but I know I'm really confident that we're going to have a lot more receivers that are capable of going in and playing this year.
Scott, have you thought about how and when you'll name captains this year, now that you've kind of got a more established culture or two?
Yeah, I don't want to depart from Nebraska tradition anywhere where I don't have to. And, there's a whole wall down by their locker room of the four captains every year. So we'll probably do it the same way, and at some point toward the end of fall camp or getting close to our first game, we'll let the players vote and pick four captains for the year. And we got plenty of guys that are deserving this year.
It'll be not just seniors this year, we can open it up to veterans.
We still have to talk about that. I think typically it was just seniors, but I'm kind of a mindset that if we have a great leader that isn't a senior that deserves it and the players vote for him, I'm going to let him be a captain, and we'll see where that shakes out.
Hey, Scott, a lot of people are saying nice things about Nebraska going into the season, and I know that you kind of said in Chicago that the prognosticators usually get it wrong, but do you welcome the expectations that have kind of been put out there for this team?
Coming back to Nebraska, I expect to coach here for a long time with a lot of expectations, and we had to get it to that point first. We're just kind of nearing that mile marker right now of having expectations. We haven't done anything yet, so I kind of feel like some of the expectations are a little premature. But I'm also happy for our guys that they've done what it takes to get them to that point. So we're going to shut out the outside noise as soon as we get started tomorrow and not worry about who's picking us in what game or what people think we're going to accomplish this year. We're just going to go to work. I think it helps us a little bit from a confidence standpoint that other people can see what's happening here. And aside from that, we're going to shut it all out and just try to be the best team we can be.
How do you go off that, Coach? If you're willing to share with us, where did you place Nebraska in your preseason top 25 in the coaches poll?
I didn't put us in the top 25. I hope that we are at the end of the year, but any progress that we made is just progress. Nothing's going to happen until we go out and earn it.
How much more do you?
Personally, do you feel, entering your second year here at Nebraska, personally for you, how do you feel about this team?
I like this team a lot better going into this year. Just seeing the looks on guys' faces when you walk past them in the hallway, seeing them hanging out together, addressing each other, being in the building. There's a whole different feel this year, more of a winning feel and a feeling that I'm used to. So I can't wait to get to work with these guys. We put in a lot of work in the off season to get to this point. There's always some butterflies in your stomach when this point comes around, when this day comes around, but I think everybody's in shape, primed and ready and rested to go to work, and we got a lot to accomplish.
How much more do you think your players appreciate what it means to play for Nebraska now that you're back and Held and Austin and Coach Rude? Compared to last season, how much more responsibility do these guys feel, not just to each other, but to this place and this program?
You'd have to ask them that. I know there's a lot of guys on the staff that love Nebraska, cherish their time here, and would do anything for the red and the white. I think the players can see that, and one of my goals as a coach is to make sure they all leave here feeling the same way about this university and this state that I feel about it, and that Barrett Ruud feels about it, and Greg Austin and Ryan Held. So we'll keep presenting those messages to them, and aside from that, I'd be speculating on how they feel, but I do feel a great sense of pride from our team right now to be a part of what they're a part of.
Scott, what do you expect to see on and off the practice field from Adrian right out of the gate tomorrow?
More confidence. I can already see it with Adrian. He's not an arrogant guy, and I don't think he ever will be, but I can just see his confidence growing. There was a lot of freshman mistakes that he made last year that probably seem like kindergarten class to him now. I expect him to be a leader a lot more this year. I think he's become a lot more comfortable with the fact that he's going to be the face of our offense and the leader on offense. I hope to see the jump that I expect from a year one quarterback to a year two quarterback, and I hope it starts tomorrow.
Hey, Scott, in Chicago, Adrian mentioned when he was asked about touchdowns, maybe a turning point or whatever, he says he remembers the bad plays more than he really dissects the good ones. Were you like that as a player? And when you hear that about one of your players, how does that make you feel?
Makes me feel like Adrian's the type of guy that wants to do absolutely everything right and as well as he can, as great as he can do it. That's just kind of a athlete's mindset, right? Even when you play golf, you don't remember the good shots, you remember the shank, right? Thinking back about my career, the bad plays stand out probably more than the good ones because when you're a competitor and a winner, you expect the good things to happen. And when you do it and something good happens, it's just kind of what you think should happen. And really that's a good sign because when the mistakes and the bad plays are an anomaly and happen less often than the good plays, then you're probably a pretty good player.
You talking about toughness and wanting to see toughness. How do you train toughness into a team? Can you train toughness into a team?
Oh, absolutely. I think toughness is a mentality. I think a lot of it's earned in the off season, in the weight room, and on the field, and in ways like that. But listen, we're also going to have physical practices, and we're going to hit each other and compete in practice. And if you ask me what made our team tough when I was playing, it was the day-to-day challenge of going up against some of the guys that you had to go up against. And we're going to have a lot of live periods. We're going to have a lot of competitive periods, and I hope our guys get comfortable in that kind of arena where they're having to go to battle with some other really good player and try to come out on top.
Is that something that you saw at your previous stops, a lot of contact, or would you say you're a coach that ramps that part up a little?
I guess I can tell you guys a story. We had Coach Osborne come down and speak to our team in Orlando right before year 2 during camp. And there's a million things that were valuable that he said, but one of the things that made an impression on us as a staff was him reminding us that on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, even during the season, we had live periods, ones-on-ones. And we adopted that year. You always run a risk as a head coach when you make that decision because you can get somebody tweaked or hurt in practice. But the benefit that we thought we gained from that, just staying sharp, kind of refining our toughness and grit, I think was more valuable than any potential risk of getting someone injured. And that's a tough decision to make as a head coach, but I think it paid off that year. I think we're deep enough or getting close to deep enough this year that we're going to be able to do some of the same things. So, Tuesdays when I was playing were my least favorite days because it was live ones versus ones, pass Skelly, full team pass, and those guys used to pin their ears back and come get it. And but those were the practices that made us better too.
Just for clarification, you weren't able to do that here last year?
We did it some here last year. I think our players are in a better position to have the endurance to get through the season this year and continue to do it this year. I think we have better depth, so we're not going to be as worried about getting one guy nicked up in a period like that. So I think we'll ramp it up this year and make sure our guys are continuing to compete. But we did it some last year.
I know when you first got here, you didn't think you were necessarily ready for a unity council or that type of thing because guys were still figuring it out. Are you trending more toward that sort of stuff this offseason?
Yeah, we are. We actually already have a group identified that comes up and meets with us as coaches once in a while. Keeps us abreast of things. We put a lot of things on those guys as far as responsibilities to make sure the team is doing things the right way, and I think we're real close to sitting down and trying to figure out how to implement the Unity Council closer to the way that people in Nebraska know it.
How big a deal has a guy like Damian Jackson been to it? Khalil Davis, I think in Chicago, mentioned that he's a guy who holds people accountable and he just has a ton of respect from his background. How have you seen that kind of play out?
D-Jax is awesome. It's like talking to another adult that I wouldn't want to tangle with. He's got the respect of the coaching staff, the players, and everybody in the building. Regardless of how much he may or may not help us on the field, he's going to be a huge asset for us, and he's definitely been probably the leader of that leadership group. So we're lucky to have him around.
Time for 2 more.
Scott, several thousand people are going to be here in a few hours outside for Fan Day. What's it mean for the head coach?
It's awesome. I couldn't believe it last year. It'd been decades since I was at one of these, and the interest level of Nebraska fans never ceases to amaze me. I think there was probably a mistake made in our athletic department that I haven't addressed where they were trying to figure out my line. Last year, I think there was a 5-hour line, and some people that were standing in line for hours never even got up there to see me. So first of all, I'm grateful to Husker fans for being willing to do those type of things. But we were trying to figure out a way to just make it kids, and I think they rolled it out the wrong way. So I spent a bunch of my summer signing, I think, 1,200 8x10. So the first 1,200 kids that come in today are going to get a signature, and I'll get to meet a lot of other people. So I'm excited about it, but I'm also excited to get it over with and start practicing.
Are you able to comment on Jakeem Green at all right now?
No. No, not until, we can't really comment on anybody until they get to campus.
Your punter battle, the Michigan State guy, Price Step, you batted. What do you anticipate from him, and will that be a pretty good battle with him and Armstrong here in fall camp?
Yeah, I think, punter, kicker, holder, snapper, those are important jobs, and we're going to let them compete just like we let everybody else compete. There's a little more pressure on that because there's a lot more limited number of times where they're able to show what they can do to the coaching staff. But, I got a lot of faith in Isaac, and that's great, but we're going to let people compete at every position, so we'll see how that pans out.
Coach? Got to be excited to get on the field for the first time tomorrow.
Can't wait. Right when summer starts, you're kind of a little bit tired and ready for a little vacation. Talking to the coaches today, they feel like I do, that you get away for a while and that just makes you hungry to get back. So, like I said, I think everybody's primed and ready. We're all rested and eager to go. So, it all starts tomorrow. Can't wait.
How's Coach DeWitt doing?
Javon's doing great. Back in the office, he was just running a special teams meeting for the coaches to make sure we were on the same page, and he seems to be lively and ready to be a part of what we're doing.
Thank you.
Yep.
Scott.